Hi, folks. Welcome to Curtis Goes Corner. No BS here, just straight commentary. Please like and subscribe. And as always, thank you for your support. Welcome back to Curtis Goes Corner from PJ Media. This is a pretty conservative site, so those of you that aren't conservative, and what I like about a lot of the writers on here, they're actually more sarcastic than I am, so I'm going to have to up my game now. I'm going to give you a trigger warning alert ahead of time on the headline. Don't look. Don't look. You ready? You covered your ears if you're triggered easily? Trump was right. Oh, Trump was right. I put that in there. Gas is at $2.75 a gallon and projected to go nowhere but up. This is from a country that just 3 months ago was the biggest exporter of gas and petroleum in the world. I didn't know Biden was going to do that. I just hated Trump. He's just a jerk. He's an ass. He tweets too much, and he's got an ego problem, and he's effing ridiculous, and I just wish he would have shut up. Okay, all right. So next time you gas up your car or your van, your SUV, look at the $10 more you're going to pay every single time you gas up and say, oh, I didn't know that was going to happen. Yeah, everybody knew, except for you, of course, because all you cared about was, I hate Trump. Let's read on. Secret sauce to the economy's success and a sea change in foreign policy during the Trump administration was becoming an energy independent nation. Yeah, let's give a round of applause for that. President Trump said during the campaign that Joe Biden's Green New Deal policies will reduce domestic energy production and raise prices. Early indications are that he was correct. I don't have a PhD, a master's, or anything in economics, and anybody with a 4th, 5th, 6th grade education could figure it out. The combination of low energy prices and interest rates pre-pandemic paired with America's traditional high productivity rates, which we do. We have some of the highest productivity rates in the world, even though our wages are much higher than a vast majority of the world. Productivity rates are attractive for businesses and encourage expansion. Yet with economies struggling to recover from pandemic and extended economic shutdowns, President Biden began to roll back policies aimed at energy independence on day one of his administration. Not only day one, from my understanding, check me if I'm wrong, it was in the first 15 minutes he sat in the Oval. Now, not the first 15 minutes he was sworn in, because he needed time to get from the back of the Capitol steps into the Oval to cause all this mayhem. In an interview on Mornings with Maria, I love Maria, she's great. On Thursday, former president of Shell Oil, John Hofmeister, believes energy prices may continue to rise to the national average of $2.75 per gallon. This is a 33-cent per gallon increase as compared to the same month last year. Part of the reason is a period of shutdown for the refineries. Still, President Biden's green energy rhetoric and early executive orders regarding exploration and fracking leases have spooked the industry, according to Hofmeister. Yeah, how are you going to invest in the future when you think your future is going to suck? I mean, President Biden hasn't done those things yet. These guys are overreacting just to gouge people. No. How are they going to invest hundreds of millions, if not billions of dollars in infrastructure and leases and hiring people if they think the policies in the future are going to work against them? You'd be an idiot to do it. But there's something else that's going on, and that's more subtle. What that is that the industry, the producers, are practicing serious capital discipline, and they're not roaring back to produce more oil. And also, they're getting squeezed by the administration. So the banning on leasing, the prohibition on new leases from the Biden administration, that's going to create a psychology in the industry of there's going to be less available, and the psychology drives the pricing as well. Of course. As long as we see this hostile administration, we're going to have a problem with prices. Yeah. In Texas, Governor Greg Abbott said these policies are a job killer in Texas. Yeah, do you think? It isn't just about the oil workers and the gas workers. You have to understand how economies work. And I'm no genius with it, but I know this. I believe it's called the multiplier effect. You get a small town with 20, 30,000 people in it, and 4,000 or 5,000 work in the gas and oil industry, like the Exxon XL pipeline. That whole town is gone. 10 times the amount of people that were working there feed off of that. They work in stores. They spend money in department stores, grocery stores, on their cable bill, their phone bill, their mortgages. Everything that they spend money on, all that money is gone. So all those businesses they spent money with dry up, and it cascades. Any 2-year-old knows that. Governor Abbott said these policies are a job killer. Members of the House also wrote a letter to the president urging him to reverse the bans. Now, that's the mistake they made. They sent the letter to the president. They shouldn't have sent it to the people that are really making the decisions, but we haven't figured out who that is yet, so they had to send it to Biden. It outlines how the executive order has created dangerous conditions that increase environmental hazards and gas flaring due to suspension of permits for waste removal pipelines. Oh, didn't think of that, did they? Regulatory overreach in the energy sector can damage stability of the Texas economy and the livelihoods of countless Texans. The issue is this. It's not just the federal government that is threatening the energy sector. Local governments around the country, and maybe even here in Texas, are acting to derail the oil and gas industry and raise energy costs for families. People need to understand that regulations cost money. The more regulations there are, the higher energy cost is going to be. Of course, Governor Abbott, good for you. What he's telling you is the world is round. Sorry, progressives, it's not flat. And if that's your truth, I'm sorry, you're mistaken. It's just amazing to me, it is. And here's a double punch. Now that basically the border is open and Texas has a huge percent of the border with Mexico, they're letting in thousands and thousands and thousands. Absolutely. Most of them are unskilled or low skilled, don't have a dime to their name. And if I'm not mistaken, I saw an article that said 108 of the migrants that were let loose in the United States had COVID-19. Oh, great. What a good idea. So now Texas is trying to open up their economy, and these economic pygmies are closing down the oil and gas sector. Not completely, just enough to screw you and screw me. And screw tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands in the end. I think the one estimate from a 10-year period out, if these things continue, it was like a $10 billion GDP hit or something. I forgot. It was huge amounts of money. And almost 1.5 million jobs lost. That's a lot of freaking people. And all those people most of those people had families. So you probably could make 4, 5, 6 million suffer. What a good idea. Higher energy prices hurt working and middle-class families the most. Of course. Not only does fueling up cost more, but higher prices also translate into food and other consumer goods being more expensive due to higher transportation costs. Yeah, you think all that stuff you're buying off of Amazon is going to be the same price to ship it after this? All you progressive flat earthers. That you don't need brick and mortar stores. Who needs a downtown? Who needs a little town? There are all those little small businessmen like myself. Who needs them? I'll just order from the richest man in the world and get what I want. It's convenient. I don't have to get it off my butt. Great. Think that's going to say the same? No. Consumer goods are becoming more expensive due to the higher transportation costs. Home energy also becomes more costly. That definitely affects us in the north, in the south as well, too, when you think about it, because of the air conditioning. It also forces us to rely on countries in the Middle East and Russia to meet demand. And there you go. There you go, folks. We have to rely on our economic and global enemies and some people that hate our guts for our energy. What a great idea. God, why didn't I think of that? President Trump must have missed that idea. A dependable green energy grid is a long way off, not because there is a lack of will. We also learned last summer in California and a few weeks ago in Texas that technology is not ready for prime time. That's true. You know what? We'll say even Elon Musk, because he's the most outside-the-box thinker. Him, Bezos, Soros, all the other billionaires, Bill Gates, they put up a prize. If you come up with solar energy for residential use, that the cost can be returned in 3 years or less, we will give you $10 billion prize. How about that? If you can come up with solar technology that pays back the owner of the residential house within 3 years or less, whoever comes up with that will give you $10 billion prize. And they'll have the patents, too, which are probably worth a ton more than that. Wouldn't that be cool? Because of suspended permits or lack of takeaway capacity, companies must burn off excess natural gas via flaring, harming the very environment these policies are supposed to protect. Add in a projection by the American Petroleum Institute of 1 million job losses and a $700 billion decrease in GDP by 2022. The impact of the order creates a bleak picture. Yeah. $700 billion is a lot of freaking money. Just 1,000 million is 1 billion. The green jobs that climate envoy John Kerry, another genius, and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg. I mean, gee, I wonder how I dropped out of the presidential race. I got a cabinet post. Pete Buttigieg have been promising and are unlikely to materialize in a year if they materialize at all. In Texas specifically, they already have more unreliable wind farms than the state needs. Solar panels require rare earth metals, and the Chinese Communist Party produces and refines the vast majority of them and has already signaled they might reduce exports. Oh, God. The transition to low-cost, reliable natural gas has helped the United States reduce carbon emissions more than any other innovations in the last decade. Way more carbon emission reductions than the Paris Climate Accord called for. So we saved all that money by not being in the Climate Accord, and we did better in carbon emissions. But I guess that sucks. So let's pay all the money to be in the Climate Accord, all the regulations that kill jobs, and put more carbon emissions in the air. Only a progressive could have a lose, 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 lose deal. Well, it's unlikely that someday Americans will view the Cadillac converter the same way as we view the horse and buggy. The technology is not ready to support high-density economy today. It won't be for many years to come. And to push the transition now will hurt the American Democrats' purport to want to help. All right, trigger warning again. President Trump was right. It's just amazing to me. It really is. It's just so simple. But the Democrats rely on one thing, and one thing only for their success: low information voters. How about all the people in the suburbs, all the middle-class white women, especially in the suburbs, that voted against Trump because he's an a-hole and he's an effing idiot and he tweets too much? They're educated enough to know this was going to happen, but maybe they didn't. Maybe they're not so high information voters as they believe they are. Maybe you ought to start watching different media and start thinking for yourself. And until next time, folks, goodbye and good luck.